Printed off a version of my CV and the whole thing was just scattered. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to Up On It. I am Charlene. So today's video is going to be the first in the series. It's going to be kind of from my personal experiences as somebody who was a grad applying for jobs and not knowing what I was doing, to speak to different people, working in different industries. So kind of putting all of that together, this is what I present to you. Hopefully it'll be really useful for you guys who are struggling or maybe avoiding applying to certain jobs or not really knowing the process or how to start. Hopefully this video will kind of break it down, make it really simple and go through it step by step as to what generally processes are like. To be honest, every single organisation is going to be super different, so you have to be aware of that, but just generally, what are people looking for? What do you generally have to, what steps do you generally have to take in order for you to feel comfortable and confident that you have a solid application that you can confidently put in to any job that you're applying to. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about in this video is CVs. So oh my gosh, the biggest question that people get asked, that I get asked, whether it be from someone who's 15, 16 who wants to get a paper round job or a grad, the number one question is, can you help me with my CV? The good thing is that I feel like CVs are becoming more and more obsolete. So there are some organizations who don't take CVs, which I think is great, but in the meantime a lot of people still do take CVs, so you still have to make sure you have a solid CV to hand. So the first thing I would say with CVs, formatting, whoo, chile. Okay, so I have a story about this. One time a global, he was like the global lead, I think, of like a massive, obviously not gonna say its name, but a massive law firm, I was a Magic Circle law firm, okay? This guy asked for my CV. I spent ages on the CV. I felt like it was looking good, did all my, table and was, come to send this thing to this man, and he responded being like, he printed off a version of my CV and the whole thing was just scattered. It was just scattered. So formatting, make sure that if you are using anything that's in a table or anything that's not conventional, kind of written down paragraph by paragraph, you try to be fancy, make sure that you print it, look at it from different versions so that when the person receives it, even sometimes when you just write it on it and you send it, whatever happens in the middle of that transition, by the time the person opens it, it's not what you thought it was looking like when you created it. So either save it as a PDF, make sure that you save it in a format that will look exactly how you want it to look. And when it comes to formats and templates, there's loads of, you can literally just Google CV template. What's really important is that it looks like what it should look like for the industry you're applying to. So for example, if you are applying to a more marketing or media or something like that, they tend to be a little bit more jazzy. You can kind of have more fun with what it looks like. I've seen some really cool CVs like that, because they obviously are looking for creativity, right? But if you are applying to maybe something that they're looking more for, like your accomplishments and what you've done and your skill set, you want to make sure that that format makes sense. So always have a Google first to see what is the general kind of format for that industry, and make sure that when you are sending it, do a practice one, send it to yourself, print it off, see that it looks like what you want it to look like, because that's really important. Okay, the next thing is to make sure that you are not listing. So a lot of CVs that I've seen, and I used to do this as well, just list everything you've done from beginning to end. You just write a list, done this, was this, da 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 da. Great, you've done all that stuff, but what is it telling me about you? What does it tell me about your values? What does it tell me about your skill set? What does it tell me about what you're capable of doing? Does it show me that you are capable of doing the job? And that's what's really important. So I always say, when you are writing the CV, and I was told this actually by someone who helped me so much a few years ago when I was rejigging my CV, and she was just like, you are applying to industries where they want results and they work with numbers and they want to see that what you have done has produced results. So instead of talking about all this nice fluff and all the things this is all lovely, give them results. So when you are writing your CV, think results based and think skills based. So great that you have started your own business at university where you are selling food or whatever, fantastic. Talk to me about what skills you've got out of that are going to be transferable, and what the results are. So if you can throw in some numbers, throw in some stats of things that you've accomplished, that is also really good, because let me tell you now, a recruiter's not going to spend that long on your application, hun. So you need to make sure that when you are listing what you've done, you want to put skills, what the skills are that you've got out of it, and then what the results are, and throw in some numbers and things like that, you know, percentages, things that make it very quick, that they can visualize it really quickly and move on. So that's the second thing I would say. The next thing I would say, and this, take it with a pinch of salt, because not every industry is going to like this, but some industries, and again, check this with industry, like recommendations. So you're gonna put, you know, your reference request and all of that stuff in there, but some people don't mind you having maybe 2 or 3 quotes of what people have said about you who have worked with you. So literally just a line, you know, Betty was great at this, and Betty showed this, and Betty was da-da-da-da. Things that can kind of support your application. And again, it's very dependent on industry, so every industry is not going to work for that. But in the same way, for example, how LinkedIn have recommendations, some people add that to their CV. So again, check that for your industry. But for some industries, a lot of kind of new and emergent industries, that's the kind of stuff that they like. So check that, and if it makes sense for your industry, definitely stick it in there. Next thing I'd say in relation to content is making sure that what you are saying is relevant to what you are applying to. So you don't need to write all the 10 jobs you've had at uni in an application if it's not relevant. I always try to make sure that you are not writing too much for your CV. You want to keep it to 1 page, a page and a half, maximum 2 pages, even then that's pushing it. You want to keep it as like succinct and clear as possible, but you don't want it to be generic either. So yes, it's got to be your experiences, but you don't need to list everything that you've done. Pick out the key things that show your transferable skills, and pick out different things as well that make sense, and show maybe different skill sets and different results that you've accomplished. So maybe one that's focused on collaboration, one that's focused on innovation, one that's focused on you know, how you are able to be resilient, something like that. Go on those, go pick those examples that show that in your CV if you can. I think that makes it more interesting to read, and then it just doesn't become generic and you're not all just saying the same things and using the same examples. When it comes to style, you don't want it to be hard to read. You know, yeah, for some industries, you know, color is great and you want it to be more, you know, want it to be interesting to look at, but try not to put too much in it where it's like overwhelming and someone can't read. You want it to always be clear, and you want it to always be clear what you're looking at and what the skill is and what you want them to get out of it. Don't make it too cluttered. Try and make the words that you use simple and straightforward, and revise it over and over again to the point where it looks like literally you can see the paper, not as much words. One thing I would say is try to section it as much as you can clearly. So whether you start with your personal profile and you do your academics, and then you do your work history and your work experience or whatever, and then your interests and your skills and your key skills, whatever, just make sure that it makes sense, that it's kind of you can look at it really quickly and kind of pick out what it is that, you know, you're looking for. And don't be afraid when you are writing your CV, look at the job spec, like legit, because I don't think that enough people do. Look at the job spec and see what they're asking you, and I'm sure that if you're applying for a job, for example, you have got those skills that they want. You might not have all the experience, but you have some experience and some skills. Make sure that the experience and the skills that you're putting on your CV are matching up with the job spec, so that literally a recruiter can look over it really quickly and be like, oh, it makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense for this job. So yeah, don't just put, sometimes people just want to put all their achievements on their CV, and that's not the point. The point is not all your achievement. The point is, can you do this job? Are you a good match for this job? So literally look at the job spec and look at what they're asking for, and then try to match it up with your experiences and your work history. So it's a short tidbit for you guys today about CVs. I'll be back really soon about the next stages of application processes, and I'm going to try and drag some of my friends on here to talk about their experiences as well. So make sure you follow me on all of my social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow me on my LinkedIn if you want to as well, and comment, like, subscribe, share, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye guys!